Yes. All right, inverse functions. Two relations are inverse relations. Woo. Relations, if and only if one relation contains the points of the form a comma b, and the other one contains points b comma a. What do you notice about those 2 points? They're flipped around. So if 5 comma 3 is in the relation, then what is the inverse? 3 comma 5. By definition, inverses flip-flop x and y's. Okay, so it says find the inverse of each relation. You got to have a little brace, squiggly, make sure it looks exactly like mine. Spend a lot of time on that. Instead of 4, negative 10, you really have negative 10 comma 4. Instead of 7, negative 19, negative 19, 7. Instead of negative 5, 17, 17, negative 5. Instead of negative 3, 11, 11, negative 3. Do B on your own. Write your answer as ordered pairs, just like we did on A. Write your inverse as ordered pairs. Check me. I got negative 13, negative 4, negative 8.5, negative 1, 0.55, 6.59. Bring it on, Miss Off. Is about the easiest thing we've done in a long time. Agreed? Okay? Stays this easy. Graph the inverse of the relation. So this time they're going to give it to us as a graph. Number 1, find some points that are actually on the line. Give me at least 2.
2, 0.
Everybody agree 2 zeros on that line? I would agree with that. Negative 1, 1. Everybody agree that's on the line? Okay, so we call a function f of x. I will tell you, notation, inverse is f a negative 1 exponent. You don't say f to the negative first of x, but that's read as f inverse of x. This negative 1 exponent means inverse. So the inverse of 2, 0 would be 0, 2. And the inverse of negative 1, 1 would be 1, negative 1. Plot those 2 points on your graph. 0, 2, 1, negative 1. Connect the line, the dots with the line. You just graphed the inverse. Do the next one on your own. Give me at least 2 points, then give me those 2 points in the inverse and graph the line. I don't know about you guys, but I use 2, 2. Did you use 2, 2? Which, when you flip 2, 2, you still get 2, 2. All ordered pairs. Flip your x and your y. Here's your curveball for the day. Okay? Given ordered pairs or given a graph, pretty straightforward. And I'm going to tell you, I give you a 4-step process, and if you follow this, you will be fine. To find the inverse of a function, you follow you follow the following steps. On a function, they're going to use the notation of f of x, or g of x, or h of x. Immediately replace f of x with a y. Remember, f of x is just a fancy way of saying y. G of x, q of x, p of r is a fancy way of saying y. Now, the whole thing with inverses is that you interchange the y and x. So right away, or the second step, you interchange x and y in the equation. What was x becomes y, what was y becomes x. Now you need to solve the equation for the new y value. You now need to solve the equation for the new y value. And your last step to get it back into function notation is you replace y with f inverse of x, so that people know this isn't the original equation. Okay? So let's go A, right at the bottom there. Wow, I did not give you very much space. You're probably gonna want to split this. You know what I'm saying? Like do A here, split this and do B here. Just an FYI. There's not a lot of space there. Okay, so if I write the original, f of x equals 4x minus 8. I'm just going to rewrite it because I didn't give myself enough space. Step number 1 says what? Replace f of x with, so I have y equals 4x minus 8. Step number 2. Switch them. So instead of y, I now have x equals 4y minus 8. Literally just change x and y. My next step. Solve for our new y. I need to get y by itself. What should I do? Add 8. What do I end up with? 8 plus x equals 4y. Could you have x plus 8? Yes. Then divide by 4. And I'll be honest with you. You can divide each separate one by 4, or you can leave it. What I would do is separate them because you can simplify this. Do you see that? What do you end up with? 2 plus 1/4 x equals y. Or could you leave it as x over 4? Yeah. What's your last step? Nope. Replace y with f inverse of x. Remember how I always tell you Miss Hoff is psycho? Yeah. I hate y being on the right. Does anybody else hate y being on the right? It drives me insane. So all I'm going to do is move this over here. So I'm going to write f inverse of x equals 2 plus 1/4 x. Everybody follow what I just did? Yeah. I just hate y being on the right. Little psycho in me. If you had 2 plus 1/4 x equals f inverse of x, it's not wrong. Let's do it again. This time we have f of x equals negative 1/2 x plus 11. Step 1. Replace. F of x becomes y equals negative 1/2 x plus 11. 2. Change x and y. So I should now have x equals negative 1/2 y plus 11. Next, subtract 11. We're really solving for our new y. I end up with x minus 11 equals negative 1/2 y. Multiply by negative 2. Make sure you multiply everything by negative 2. This gets multiplied by negative 2. This gets multiplied by negative 2. This gets multiplied by negative 2. Y and negative 2. It is a negative 1/2, but we want a positive y. So you got to multiply by a negative. Good question. What do you end up with? Negative 2x plus 22 equals y. Last step. f inverse of x, because Miss Hoff is psycho, equals negative 2x plus 22. Can you leave f of x on the right? Sure. 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 Ready? C. Step 1. Change f of x to y equals 6 times x plus 7. Now we change x and y. X equals 6 times y plus 7. Should you distribute? Why not, man? What do you want to do instead? Do you want to distribute? Why? Okay. Could you distribute? Sure. Don't write this down. Just watch. You would end up with 6y plus 42. And then what would you do? Subtract 42 to the other side. You'd have x minus 42 equals 6y. Then what would you have to do? Divide that 6 back out. That seems kind of annoying, right? Okay, distribution really means that you're multiplying here. So to undo multiplication, you could divide this side by 6, divide this side by 6. On the right-hand side, my 6's cancel. What do I have on the left? 1/6 x equals y plus 7. Then subtract 7. I end up with 1/6 x minus 7 equals y. And last but not least, change your y to f inverse of x equals 1/6 x minus 7. Now, if you distribute 7, are you going to get it wrong? No. I just think it's neater this way. I'm not going to make you do D, but what's different about D? Close, but not quite. Your A is not positive. What's different about D than the other ones we've done? True, something else.
Oh, y is multiplied by 3.
Nope. There's no f of x. So technically, would you have to do the first step of changing f of x to y? No, it's like it's already done. So in this problem, the first step you would do is change your x and your y. Still, when you're done, though, you finish with f inverse. Okay? Let's deal with Bernardo. Bernardo spent $15 on supplies for his lemonade stand. He charges $1.25 per glass. The function p of x equals 1.25x minus 15 represents, that is not what it represents. It represents the profit after x number of glasses sold. It represents the profit after X number of glasses are sold. What is profit? Money you made. So in his equation, just thinking about this, 1.25x, he charges $1.25 times every glass that he sells. Why do you subtract 15? Because he spent $15. He's got to pay himself back, right? So yes, he's making money on the glass as a lemonade, but he's got to remember he's got to pay for supplies. Okay. So now this says find the inverse p inverse of x. So no, now instead of f of x, they have p of x. So the first thing I should do, change p of x to y equals 1.25x minus 15. Then switch them. So I have x equals 1.25y minus 15. Now, add 15 to both sides. X plus 15 equals 1.25y. Divide. Now, when you divide, you're dividing everything by 1.25. Now, Miss Hoff normally hates decimals, but you started with a decimal. So actually divide this out. So really you have 1 divided by 1.25. Yes? Which is 0.8x. 15 divided by 1.25 plus 12 equals y. Last step. Very good. P inverse of x equals 0.8x plus 12. Okay. What do x and P inverse of x represent in the inverse function? X is the number of what? Now that's what he did originally. And this is the profit after X number of glasses sold. Thatcher?
X is the number of glasses.
That's what we just said. That's what was the original. Now we're talking the inverse. What happens in the inverse? They switch, right? So X is no longer representing the number of glasses. What is it representing? The profit Bernardo makes. And P inverse of X is actually the number of glasses. So as strange as this sounds, if you knew how much money Bernardo made, you could plug that in, and with this calculation, you would say, oh, actually, he sold this many glasses. Obviously, Ms. Hoff was sleeping when she typed this last problem, because Alicia and Brownies are not involved. That is supposed to say, how many glasses must Bernardo sell in order to make $10 in profit? I think it's another question. I just looked at the wrong one when I typed it out. Special. Okay, so if the profit is $10, you just told me profit is X, right? So let's take our inverse equation. P inverse of X equals 0.8X plus, was it 12? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. $10 in profit can go in for our X. 0.8 times 10 plus 12. What should I do first? Multiply. 0.8 times 10? 8 plus 12? 20. So how many glasses did he sell? 20 glasses. So once you do the inverse, you flip-flop your labels as well. Originally, X was the number of glasses and P of X was profit. On the inverse, X becomes profit and P inverse becomes the number of glasses. Okay? Your homework lays out identical to this. Giving you ordered pairs, giving you some graphs, giving you some equations, and then you're going to talk about a season pass to an amusement park and Cara building raised bed gardens. Okay? Tomorrow we are online for a review of the last 2 days. Wednesday is a review, or Thursday is a review. Friday is your test.